Hey guys, greetings to everyone out there in business communication class. I would like to talk to you guys today about some tips for better listening. To be honest with you, this is my first time uploading a YouTube video, so I'm a little nervous, but this is going to be good practice for our speeches coming up here pretty soon. So let's get to it. It seems like nowadays we're sort of listening less than we ever have, and it's for a couple reasons. Mostly it's because we live in a more industrial environment than we ever have before. We have a lot of technology. It's very stimulating around us at all times, and most of us live in cities now, so it's unavoidable. We sort of just tune things out. Our technology is just bombarding us with sensation all the time, and it has really led to us not listening like we used to. Listening skills are needed now more than ever, just because of how many people there are in the world. There's going to be more interaction, and the consequences of ineffective listening is things like war and conflict, and not to mention, we're in college to find work, so employers are looking for people with good communication skills, and listening is integral to that. So the first tip I'd like to talk to you about today starts on page 68 and goes through page 69 if you're following along in your book. It's about asking questions. Asking questions is very important to listening. Your teachers always tell you when you're in class to ask questions because they think it's important to the learning process and the communication process. And it may seem annoying, and it seems like we do our best to avoid engagement as much as we can. But they tell us this for a reason. And one of those reasons is clarity of meaning. If the sender and receiver are interpreting things differently, then there's going to be miscommunication. And asking questions is one of the best possible ways to clarify that. And honestly, the devil is in the details for a lot of things. Very costly mistakes are made because of what we consider small details, but down the line, the consequences for making a mistake because you weren't sure of the details can be huge. And accuracy leads to efficiency. It also shows engagement. If you're asking questions, the speaker knows that you're listening. There's no question about it. It's not the same as if you were sitting there passively or even nodding, and you avoid appearing disinterested. Another tip that I'd like to talk to you about is withholding judgment, and it occurs on page 66 in the book. And this is one of the most difficult things there is to do, especially if you're somehow involved in a personal relationship with the person that you're listening to. It seems like even before they start talking, we've already made up our mind about how we feel about what they're going to say, what we think about it. So it really is difficult not to introduce our own bias into what's being said, but we really don't want to taint the information that's coming in. The speaker has their own meaning that they intend for the message, and you need to really let them deliver that as best you can. And there's going to be time to judge what's being said afterward. I mean, they're not telling you to never judge what's being said. It's just try to let them finish, and that way the message at least arrives clear. One of the tips I really liked from Julian's video, he starts talking about it at 4 minutes and 12 seconds. He talks about silence. We've all heard the phrase silence is golden, but most of us have never really stopped to consider what that means, you know? It seems like we look to break the silence whenever we can. You know, we have the radio on in the car, we have our earbuds in, we have television going in the background. Silence is uncomfortable to us nowadays. And that's unfortunate because the absence of sound really creates an appreciation for listening. You don't learn to appreciate something till you go without it. And we need time for consideration and contemplation, you know, and if we're constantly intaking these sensory experiences, we really don't have time to think. I'm an avid proponent and practicer of meditation, and so I truly try to appreciate silence and what it can do for you. And silence can change your life if it's used correctly. The other tip I really liked that Julian talked about, he first started talking about it at 4 minutes and 25 seconds. And I love this tip. He called it the mixer. He said it's where you are in sort of a noisy place and you try to differentiate the different sounds coming in from one another and sort of analyze what they are, where they're coming from. And this is almost like a training exercise to be an active listener. You know, the best listening is active. It's not passive. And this is how we can truly engage with our speakers. If we're hanging on to every word they say, thinking about, you know, what the meaning is behind their message, and it fights the sponge mentality that we have of listening. You know, that as long as we're hearing, we're listening, which just isn't true. And if we can differentiate the sounds that are coming in, we're one step closer to doing the same thing for meanings and really understanding what the message is that the speaker is trying to get across. And, you know, we should really heed some of these tips that are given as much as possible, because it could, you know, benefit not only our own lives, but us as a community. And it will also improve your relationships. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch my video and listen to what I had to say. And I hope I didn't stumble through it too much. And I will enjoy watching you guys' videos as well. Take care. Have a good weekend.